Hello and welcome. I'm Ciara Conlon, and this is the High Vibration Reset Podcast. So I'm delighted you are back again today. And if you've ever felt like your expertise hasn't been fully seen, heard, or acknowledged, you're going to enjoy today's episode. And if you haven't taken the High Vibration Reset quiz yet, the link is below in the show notes. So you might want to do that, or don't forget to do that, because that is going to help you to see which success block might be the core one or the biggest one that's been holding you back. But today we're diving into the archetype that I call the undervalued expert. Now, this is usually the woman who is very talented, highly qualified, and often the go to person for advice. But she still feels unseen, maybe underpaid, or like she has to constantly prove herself. But here's the truth, because when you don't own your value, you end up actually attracting situations that are going to reflect back this inner doubt that you have. Yep, we often attract the exact circumstances that we don't want. And by staying small and keeping our thinking small, we're not allowing for expansion. And this often shows up when we undercharge for our services, if we don't speak up in a meeting, or we could be staying in a role that doesn't really excite us or light us up. And we're doing this because it's safer to stay small. I personally spent many years feeling like I had to earn every ounce of recognition. Even when I knew I was good at what I did, I just couldn't seem to get the recognition that I knew my work was due to get this recognition. I always felt frustrated by that. But what I realized over the years is that your work can't really speak for itself if you're constantly dimming your own light. If I'm going to doubt my own ability, that energy is going to be picked up by others. And staying humble to the point of invisibility doesn't serve you or the people that you're meant to help. And I've seen this play out so many times with so many really incredible women that I coach. And it shows up with the consultant or person who's booked out with clients, but still charges less than her male counterparts. And I've seen it with leaders who hold back in board meetings, even though she probably has the most insight in the room. And very often it shows up with coaches who are healers who stay stuck behind the scenes instead of stepping out and showing up online where the potential audience is waiting. Now, none of these women lack talent. What they do lack, though, is permission. And that permission only has to come from themselves. Because you don't have to be wait to be chosen. You can choose yourself. Yeah, you can recognize your own value. But the undervalued expert very regularly over delivers, but she undercharges. She holds back ideas, doesn't bring them to the world until they're perfect. And she generally avoids visibility out of fear of being judged or fear that she actually isn't really as good as she thinks she is. So you'll probably recognize the imposter here as well. So the imposter is something that often hides beneath this archetype. So the imposter is the one who says, "Who do you think you are?" Um, or it questions, "Am I really good enough?" When you're about to do something big, like raise your rates or something like that. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and guess that you are qualified, that you are experienced, that you've already put in the work, that you continuously show up. So I think it's time to silence that inner voice. What do you think? Because imposter syndrome isn't usually about facts, it's about the conditioning that we've had. And so many high achieving women, especially those who've been praised for being humble or for waiting their turn. And this internal doubt becomes a kind of background noise. It's quiet, but it's constant. But I know it's not your fault. It's not any of our faults because we've been trained into doubting our power. We've been brought up to be this kind of persona who isn't big or brash or full of ourselves. But we can be full of ourselves, but full of ourselves in a nice way. We can brag. All of these things have been we've been told that they're uncouth or they're not nice to believe in ourselves. But that's essentially what we're doing. We're just believing in the expertise or the power that we actually do have to make a difference in this world. So the shift that we're going to make today is, instead of waiting for recognition, we're going to become our own validation. Instead of holding ourselves back, we're going to own our brilliance and take up space in this world. Because remember what I said, it's that your energy leads the way. So when you start showing up like someone who owns her worth, the world around you is going to respond. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You just need to own it. So let's break this down a little bit. The first energetic shift is awareness. So notice where in your life or in your work you've been shrinking. Where are you saying yes when you actually want to say no? Where are you maybe staying quiet when your intuition is kind of nudging at you? Speak up, speak up. And are there times when you're hiding behind perfectionism instead of actually just showing up and being who you are? So there are many women that I've seen do this. You know, many of the clients that I've worked with that stay stuck in this constantly worried state where they kind of feel like they're not enough. And it doesn't matter how much experience they have. I'm thinking of one particular client here when I remember asking her one day, what would it look like to walk into that meeting like the expert you actually are? And it was such a simple question, but something completely shifted that day, or something clicked for her. And even though she already had, 15 years of experience and a trail of successful projects behind her, it was just that question that kind of shifted her whole posture actually changed. I could physically see that shift in her face. And yeah, it was just a kind of a big aha moment. So she kind of settled into the fact that I am an expert. And when that kind of realization landed into her body, her team, her fellow directors, and her clients started to notice the shift. And nobody actually said it to her, because that's the power of embodying who you actually are. of aligning with the version of you who no longer waits for permission. So I'm going to invite you this week to practice this kind of visibility. And it's a powerful visibility. So it's not the kind that shouts or performs to be noticed, but just that kind of silent shift to own your space. So you can start small if you need to. Start with maybe even updating your LinkedIn bio, your LinkedIn profile, like to really reflect your expertise. Or you could do something in a meeting that you say something that you would normally keep to yourself. Or you could raise your prices maybe just a little bit or a lot if they need to be raised a lot. Or just start to brag a little bit, and again, don't overthink that word brag, but it's just saying what you're good at, acknowledging it. Tell your friends, actually, do you know what I did that was really cool? Or do you know what I've achieved that I'm really proud of? Because these micro shifts will start to build that muscle of worthiness. Because when you start to show up fully without apology and start to embody that next level you're going to really see a change in the world around you. So here's a journaling prompt that might help you this week. And that's asking yourself, where am I waiting for permission? And what could change if I gave that permission to myself today? So remember, you're not here to stay small. You are here to lead. And not lead through force, but through your presence, through your energy. So stop waiting, start leading. And as we come to the end of today's episode, really question, where are you undervaluing yourself, undervaluing your voice, undervaluing your time? And make sure you take more aligned action this week so that you really honor your worth. And don't forget, if you haven't done it already, take the high vibration quiz. And if you want more support, you can join us in the Lifeflow Community, where we make these shifts together week by week. If you're not already following me on Instagram at Coach Ciara Conlon, and in the next podcast episode, we will be looking at whether you are truly aligned in the action you are taking. So I hope you have a fabulous inner day, and I will see you in the next episode.